Okay, so this is where we left off. Yesterday we talked about two-step equations with fractional coefficients. But I just want to, since I have a little room on this sheet, we're going to do a quick review of the distributive property. So let's review the distributive property. And about the only thing that gets a little tricky with this distributive property is we'll do a few examples that have negative numbers we have to distribute. But first, let's kind of just talk about what it is. So remember, the distributive property has to deal with when you multiply sums or differences, when we multiply with addition or subtraction. So here's an algebraic explanation. So say you have a number A, and we multiply it by a sum. So I'm going to say B plus C. So this is algebraic because all I'm using are variables. So what we want to do is rewrite this expression without the parentheses. So one way to do this is to distribute. We take the A, and we call this distributing, remember? We multiply it to everything inside parentheses. So I'm going to multiply the A with a B, and that would be A times B, so we write that as AB. Then there's addition, and then we multiply A with C, so we would call this AC. So each time A is there. Each time we have A in there. And it works as well when we have a difference. Okay, so it works as well when we have A times the quantity B take away C, or B minus C. So we're going to multiply, just like we had here, A, we're going to multiply by A. And remember what we call it when we multiply the number outside to the numbers inside? We call it distributing. We're going to distribute A. So let's multiply A with B again. That would be AB. And then we're subtracting, and then we'll multiply A times C. So AC. So this is just showing us or reminding us that whatever is inside, even if it was 3 terms, if we were adding or subtracting 3 or 4 or 5 terms, everything gets multiplied by A. Okay. But luckily, we're just going to have 2. So let's go ahead and practice this. Let's distribute, everyone. Number 1. 3, we're going to just multiply 3 with X take away 4. So what number are we distributing here, guys? 3. So we're going to distribute 3 to X into 4. So if I multiply 3 times X, what is that? If I multiply the first 2, we usually write that as 3X, or we will write that as 3X. Then we have a minus, And since this number is not negative, we don't have to worry about switching signs or anything. It's just minus. And then we multiply 3 times 4. And then 3 times 4 would be, what's 3 times 4? 12. Okay. All right. Ladies in the back, need your work. Okay, let's do number 2. Okay, let's do this. 5 times the quantity 2x plus 7. So this time we're distributing 5. So we're going to multiply through by 5. And that's going to be multiplied to 2x and 7. Okay. So let's see what that gives us. 5 times 2x, 10x. And then we have a plus sign, and we don't have to worry about switching signs or anything because that's positive. So 5 times 7. So we got 10x plus 35. Okay. So the next couple of examples are going to have a negative that gets distributed. So the thing there is we have to review how we multiply integers. So remember, I'm going to bring back this creepy bear. And this gets used whenever we have integers and we're multiplying or dividing. Okay, so a quick review. If we multiply a positive times a negative, I'll cover those up. Positive and a negative, we'll get a negative. And if we multiply a negative times a negative, we'll get a positive. And we'll see both examples right now. Okay, so here we go. Let's do number 3. Negative 4, and we're going to multiply that with x plus 3. Okay, so we're distributing negative 4. So negative 4 will multiply with x and with 3. Okay, so let's see what that gives us. What do we get when we multiply negative 4 with x? Negative 4x. Yeah. Think of it as a negative times a positive, so it stays negative. Negative 4x. Now we're going to multiply a negative times plus 3. Think of that as a negative times a positive. What's a negative times a positive? A negative, right? It's a negative. So this plus sign is not going to stay a plus sign. It's going to become a minus sign. And then 4 times 3 is 12, so minus 12. So when you distribute, you get negative 4x minus 12 because we multiply negative times a positive. Okay. And let's do one last example here. Number 4, negative 8. And we're going to distribute that to 2x minus 1. So we're distributing a negative 8 this time. And that's going to go to 2x and then minus 1. Okay. So let's see what that gives us. So we got negative times a positive. What's 8 times 2x? 16. But it's going to be negative 16x. So we get negative 16x from the first part. Now we're going to multiply negative 8 to minus 1. That's a negative times a negative. What's that going to give us? Positive. So 8 times 1 is 8, so this should be plus 8. we got a negative times a negative. So that would give us a positive or plus 8. Okay, that's about the only tricky thing. Be careful when you got those negatives. It'll switch the sign on whatever it is you're multiplying. Pluses become minuses, and minuses become pluses. Okay? All right. So that's what you should have done last year with this. We're going to expand on it. We're going to use it to solve equations. Okay? So our goal today is to have equations that require distributing, and we'll solve them. All right? So is anyone still writing any of this down? Okay, let's move on to actually solving some equations with this. This will be on page 21. Okay. So we're into multi-step equations. And this will be on page 21. And now we're just going to say solve. We want to solve. We want to figure out what number the variable represents by using our algebra moves, our inverse operations and transformations and all of that good stuff. Okay, so here's the first one. Let's do 10, and we'll multiply 10 times n minus 8, n minus 9. And that's going to equal negative 40. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. N minus 9 is going to be multiplied by 10. So 10 is what we distribute. So let's distribute that 10. Let's see what that gives us. 10 times n, that'll be 10n. Now here, is the sign going to flip to a plus sign or stay minus? Stay minus. The only time that would flip is if we have a negative out sign. So it stays minus, and then we do 10 times 9 equals negative 40. So if there's parentheses and we can distribute, the first thing we should do is to distribute. That's going to get rid of the parentheses. Now we can go in and solve this. Okay? Well, let's get rid of, this is a two-step equation now. When we get rid of the 90? Add it. Yeah, let's do it. We'll go a little quicker because now we've done this for a while. So we get 10n equals negative 40 times plus 90. And we'll just divide out the 10. And we'll get n is 50 divided by 10, which is 5. So in the end, we get a 5 as our solution. Okay. Looking good. All right. So for the next one, I want to see what you do with this. Number 2. This time we're going to do 3, and then that gets multiplied with 3y minus 10 equals 6. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is distribute the 3. I want to see what you get. So give me the next step after you distribute. I want to see what you do with that. Go ahead and distribute that 3. You can continue solving it if you want, but I just want to see that next step. What do you get when you multiply with that. Go ahead and multiply it. So 3 multiply with 3y, 3 multiply with 10. Let's see, what do we get? All right. Good job. You see, many of you are just going through and solving it. Now, if this is what you got just from distributing, congratulations, you did a great job. Okay, let's just continue solving then. So I got 9y minus 30 equals 60. I'm going to get rid of the 30. My red just about ran out. There we go. Okay. So that's going to be 9y equals 90. Oops, did I do something wrong? Oh boy, look what I did. That changes the answer completely, doesn't it? Good catch, thank you. That's 36 now. I mean, it would have worked, but it would have been the wrong answer. Okay. And let's get rid of that 9. We get y equals 4. All right. Y is 4. Okay. So now we're going to do a couple with negatives in them. So we're going to distribute a negative. So this is where we got to be careful what the next step is going to look like. All right. So this is going to be number 3. Negative 2, parentheses, 5x plus 5. And all of that's going to equal 40. Well, let's do this. So we're going to distribute negative 2. We're going to distribute negative 2. So let's see what that does for us. Here we go. I'm going to distribute this negative 2. And so negative 2, we multiply it with 5x. What's negative 2 times 5x going to be? Negative 10x. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to multiply negative 2 with plus 5x. What's going to happen here when I multiply that? Negative. So I'll put a minus. Yeah. Equals 40. And let's go ahead and add the 10. So now we just solve it like any other two-step equation. I got negative 10x equals 50. And so let's get rid of that negative 10. Let's divide it away. So it's going to be x equals 50 divided by negative 10, negative 5. Is it negative 5? Not too bad. Good job, guys. Number 4. We're going to do negative 3. We're going to multiply that with n take away 7. And all of that's going to equal 45. Okay, so this time I want you to try it. Distribute this negative. Let's see what you get. So multiply negative 3 with n and negative 3 with minus 7. Remembering you're multiplying negative times a negative when you do negative 3 times minus 7. Okay, so go ahead and try that. Distribute the negative 3. So multiply negative 3 times n and negative 3 times minus 7. We're almost done. One more problem after this. All right. Okay, so if you distributed correctly, hopefully this is what you wrote, or this is what you got. Negative 3n plus 21 equals 45. This minus and that negative, or this negative and that negative, gives you plus or positive 21. Okay, so if you got that correct, congratulations. And let's solve the rest of this. Minus 21. Okay. And let's see what that gives us. Negative 3n equals 45 minus 21 is 24. And let's divide out the negative 3. Okay. N equals negative 8. 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. All right, so now the only thing we have to worry about at this point, well, kind of both, because the way we're going to handle this next problem is with multiplication and division, one right after the other. Because what if the number we're distributing by is a fraction? I mean, we've done these before, so I don't want you to freak out about it. So let's say we have to multiply by 2/3. And then we have 5x minus 10 that we have to distribute to, and that equals 10. Okay. So go ahead and write that down. Now, let's see, we can just straight up distribute. Multiply everything inside the parentheses by 2/3. Then we would have to deal with thirds everywhere, right? Because if I multiply 2/3 times 5, what's 2 times 5? 10? Then we would have 10/3 x. Ugh. Then if we multiply 2/3 with 10, we would have 20/3. Do you want to deal with all those thirds? Not really. What other methods have we learned to handle when we have fractions? We've done it before. We did it yesterday. Multiply. What should we multiply by? Multiply by the denominator. That's still going to work for us. Look. Let's multiply by 3. And the lucky thing that we have on our side is this is all just multiplication. I know we got some stuff inside the parentheses, but it's multiplying. So that means I can cancel these. The 3 here in the numerator cancels with the denominator. And now I have my new equation that has no denominator. It's just 2 times the quantity, 5x minus 10. Now on the other side, we do have to multiply 10 times 3, which is 30, but that's okay. I'd rather deal with that. No more thirds. Okay, so now it's just like any other equation we've solved today. We distribute the 2. So let's do it. Well, let's multiply 2 times 5x. That's 10x, and then 2 times 10. And that's 20 equals 30. Okay, and lucky for us, we don't have to deal with anything else there. Let's go ahead and add 20. We get 10x equals 50. And so divide out the 10. Cancel that. Right. There we go. Sorry. We finally get our final answer, which is 5. X is 5. Okay. So on the new assignment, we're going to have equations like this that require distributing. Okay. If you do have the rare case where you do get one of these fractions, multiply both sides by the denominator, you cancel it out. Okay.